I think you're in the world of top three, maybe even top one critical need right now. And it's not about selling software, it's about serving that customer, turn the 80-20 and flip it the other way. What you're doing is a productivity enhancer of 21 times for a developer.
Ben, welcome to Blitzy HQ. We are super excited to have you doubling down on Blitzy in the growth investment round. But maybe to get started, you can share your, what I would call, prolific career as an investor in some areas that you guys are focusing on in AI and infra.
Good. Well, thanks, Brian. Yeah. Super excited to be here, and I think we actually quintupled down.
Quintupled down. So that's right. Yeah.
When I say we're excited about Blitzy, we're really excited about Blitzy.
Yeah.
And why did we do that? I think it starts with you and Sid and the team you built and the capabilities you built and the part of the market you identified, and most importantly, the customer mission to serve that market.
Yep.
And one of the things I look for in my career, I used to run Bain Capital Ventures and
small boutique shop.
It's a pretty big one. But one of the things I did there was form the infrastructure software group.
Yeah.
And so we really focuses on resource data, security, and compliance. And we built some fantastic companies in and around the Boston ecosystem and frankly across the country. But one of the things I always look for are people that are really truly customer-centric, customer focused. And it's not about selling software, it's about serving that customer and addressing a critical need. I think you're in the world of top three, maybe even top one critical need right now, which is addressing the technical debt, the legacy technical debt of the last 40, 50 years. And as well as thinking about that greenfield of new product iteration that they want.
Yep.
And so when I saw what Blitzy was doing and understood it, and the requirements around it, and how none of the individual sort of co-pilots could ever hit that because you have a dispersion of capabilities and projects as opposed to one solid ontology. It made all the difference. Mm-hmm. And so that's really the focus of what we do. We at Venture Guides, we believe in very much concentrated positions, high focus, high conviction. Our co-invest is 11.5%. That's about 10 to 11 times the industry norm for venture, and we only limit ourselves to 15 positions in a fund. Mm-hmm. So it's a really high focus, high conviction, and the fundamental test of an investor in my mind is, do you know what you own? Do you know why you own it? And do you know how to help?
Yep.
And that's really where we come from.
Yeah, and I think we have four values at Blitzy. The fourth and last one by design is we work for the customer, right? Because Perfect. We are building technology that is like on the frontier. And so when you have that sort of pushing the edge technically, you can culturally get astray and just be doing cool technical work because it's cooler on the edge, right? And we just culturally, we have the opposite, which is like, how can we do something that's cooler on the edge that solves a deep customer need, which is always around either code-based understanding or code-based code generation quality at scale. Mm-hmm. And what was really attractive when we first met is you guys immediately understood the challenges and even the first half of the technology, which is creating that ontology or creating the enterprise constitution to actually understand what's been built over the last 25, 30 years, where a lot of people are like, well, like you just throw it in a context window, which you're like, okay, this is gonna take a while to get you there. But you guys specialize in AI and infra, right? Which allows you guys to move relatively quickly when we first met to get involved in a small way and now quintuple it down. But maybe you can speak to the experience that you guys went through of understanding what we did, right? That the process of understanding the ontology and large scale code generation as a firm.
I think we might have had a bit of an advantage. One is the firm is very centered on how do we help entrepreneurs find and understand and intuit product market fit? Like truly the mandate, the use case, how do you find out to whom that's assigned, what the reverse is, the ICP, but then more importantly, the triggers and why are they gonna be a buyer? We literally just went through 10 years of this with a company I used to run called Turbonomic. We sold it to IBM.
Sold to 19 of the top 20 banks.
Sold all the major money center banks and learned all of the complexities of dealing with those organizations. They're massive, massive estates. I mean, the number one money center bank spends $17 billion a year, 60,000 technology employees. So you can imagine organizing that campaign to serve the senior leadership that's trying to set that direction is really quite hard. and then to hold on to it all the way through the process, not just of a sale, but to their referenceability and success, that's the key. So when I understood the way you guys thought about this, and the importance of effectively really project managing the client.
Yep.
And thinking through not how do I, vibe code some parameter or feature, but really think about 100 million lines of code ingestion. How do I think about all the layers of the stack, all the resourcing, all the decisions in a microservices, a virtual environment, GPUs today, and so how do I think about that top to bottom stack and manage it with a high completion rate, a very high completion rate, and getting higher all the time. But when I heard you were north of 70%, I was impressed. By the time we got here, I think you were at 86%. I think you're now in the 90s. And these models get stronger, but your ability to choose the model on which you want to work dynamically inside of an ontology and really rely on the strength of that ontology for the success of the customer's outcome, that's a different approach than I think the rest of the market has. And I think that's what gives you such a strong position with these top-tier banks, insurance, telcos, all of those folks that are fighting, the legacy of, I call it the 80-20, actually, I got this from Jamie Dimon, but there's the 80-20. If you're spending 80% of your budget on defense and upgrades, as opposed to offense and new feature sets to serve customers, you're behind the curve. And the whole idea of, at least what got us excited about Blitzy and having seen this and experienced it in the banks, was turn the 80-20 and flip it the other way.
Yep. And really drive incremental value for their end customers, right? Which
Exactly.
Which are using some of this software, which are experiencing much more performance software that's modernized, and that was incredibly attractive. And so it was fast for you, it was fast for our customers to understand that Blitzy is in this, I call it a Switzerland position, right? Where all the folks are trying to say, like, are we a Gemini shop? Are we an Anthropic shop? Are we an OpenAI shop, right? And I say, you're all of them, right? And we are an amplification layer of intelligence that takes advantage of all the state-of-the-art LLMs and does hyperscale orchestration of all of them to get beyond state-of-the-art that you could get with any single LLM. And so we remove this decisioning point of, like, what is our AI provider of intelligence, or how do we figure that out, right? By just saying all of them together is actually a much better world. And that actually gives you a sense of ease or relief, because a new model drops every 5 weeks if you look at all of the labs together. And it's like, how do I adopt this one? How do I bring it into my flow? How do I have my developers use this? And we just abstract all of that away. And just in time, every time dynamically, the system will decide how to solve that problem, right? Which keeps cost basis correct to the type of task complexity while optimizing for quality, right? And so this is a design decision that you don't get to make post hoc, right? So you have to design ahead of time with this in mind, and our customers have just been, every time there's a new model release, amplifying the effects of Blitzy, absorbing that into their own enterprise code base, and just getting higher and higher completion percentages.
So at Venture Guides, we talk about BYOL.
Yep.
And bring your own LLM.
Exactly.
Okay, and so if you can have the ability to choose the right LLM for the right portion of the stack, for the right agent to execute and orchestrate that agent, and it could be different from time to time as they release new versions, right?
It is.
And it will be, to your point. Then I think it becomes really, really powerful to harness that tidal wave of generative AI, as opposed to being, drowned in it. And if we're fighting that by looking at each developer or each resource team inside of a customer institution, trying to optimize their piece of the stack, but not the whole, you're going to have an interminable loop of your own, but of your own making that frankly won't deliver the outcome you want.
Yeah.
So I thought the architecture was fantastic. The outcomes and what we heard talking to some of the largest custodial managers in the world, money center banks, financial insurance companies, and so forth, it was a really strong endorsement of the approach you and Sid took.
So let's talk about Boston, right? We're all sitting in what I consider one of the most intellectually talent-dense areas of the world. We're right here in Kendall Square. There's more inventions per this square mile than any other square mile in the world, right? And so just deep density right where we're sitting of the world's smartest people, right? And then our mission is to take these people and give them an incredible work environment and incredibly cutting edge work to drive a lot of value into the customers. So talk about what you all believe, what we believe, which is building here in Boston, building here in Cambridge is actually a long-term advantage for us as a company.
So one of the best things about Boston, and I think one of makes Boston such an innovative center, is there are 44 schools of higher education. And I don't mean in Boston alone, I mean in the Boston area, right? Yep. So from southern New Hampshire to northern Rhode Island. But what that does is it brings 400,000 students a year into the city proper. Yep. And many of them sit there and go, wow, Charles River, ocean, mountains, all reachable and high quality of life. And they love the intellectual spirit of the city. And it's also a pretty good sports town. So when you put those together, people say, hey, I'd like to stay. Yeah. And then they start founding companies and building wonderful startups. And that's why you see us as a very notable biotech center. You see it as one of the original computer manufacturing centers. Internet was mostly developed here. But I think it's now time to also reimagine and frankly reignite infrastructure software in Boston. Yep. I mean, it was ground zero for the longest time. Yeah. And for whatever reason, a bunch of folks have started to give up on it. Blitzy is, I think, going to be one of the most consequential companies here in Cambridge. And at Venture Guides, we've now built a portfolio of 16 companies, including Blitzy. Here, and they're coming from all around the world. And what's also interesting, from all across the country. So 5 from Israel, 3 from England, 1 from Germany, Brazil, Argentina, but then the rest all from across the country, choosing to build go-to-market and headquarters in Boston, yep. Which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I so emphatically disagree with this idea that the talent is only in Silicon Valley, right? Like and a lot of times you'll hear this, oh, like you can hire other functions, but it's the engineering talent that's the best in the Bay, right? Like our engineers are world class. We have outcompeted some of the most capital-fueled companies in the world in what we do with a fraction of that capital because of how elite these people are and because they have a long-term mindset. We've had no engineering turnover here. Like we started the company in 2023, right? Yeah. Everybody that comes here wants to build something that is going to change the world. They're not just, oh, the next Series B company got funded, so I'm going to go do the next incremental thing because I've been here for a year. It's a long-term mindset. And as an engineer, right, if you own the code base, you're going to build that a little bit differently than if you're trying to, show that you developed another flashy feature to roll out to the customers to put on your resume, right? So the quality of the inputs, the quality of the talent, like the number of PhDs that we have on staff, right, that are deep IC PhDs pushing the edge is sort of orders of magnitude what we could have in the Valley when they're switching jobs or switching startups every 12 months.
I think the good news is infrastructure software is increasingly running the world's economy, yep. Right? I mean, if you think about, the nickname we use for it is digital plumbing, and it's really what's driving productivity. And long-term, all economic growth comes down to productivity. Yep. Short-term, work more hours, bring immigration in, but long-term, it's going to be productivity-based. What you're doing is a productivity enhancer of 21 times for a developer, roughly. And so it's exactly the kind of thing we focus on. Yeah. But I think you can build them in California, you can build them in New York, you can build them, literally, as I mentioned, in Brazil and Argentina. But at the end of the day, a lot of the North American market is about 50% of the global market in infrastructure software. And it's a huge chunk of the innovation. And so I think this is an absolutely perfect place where you combine the academic prowess of Boston with the draw of the students globally, with an incredibly attractive lifestyle city in terms of the ability to get out into nature easily, not a 4 or 6 hour drive. Yeah. And to enjoy all of that together while you're working on some of the most important problem sets in the world that are driving the world's economy and fundamentally our standards of living, that's a pretty cool calling. Yeah. So I love what you're doing here. I think we're helping with that same mission, and I think as we get more like-minded people on the operator and investor side, I think it's going to be a sunnier and sunnier day here.
Yeah, well, we're building one of the most important companies in Boston, and we believe one of the most important companies in the world. So we are excited to have you guys quintupling down, as you put it, which is exactly right. Being a meaningful part of our growth journey, and we're thankful for all the counsel you've given us to date, and the continued work to grow, especially in financial services, which is where you guys have been unbelievably helpful. So thanks so much.
Well, you've done a great job, and what a founding team. So thank you.
Thanks, Ben.